Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's Facebook Live. I have Ngaire here with us today. Thank you so much for being here and saying yes. This is going to be such a fun conversation. To get us started, do you mind introducing yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. My name is Ngaire Stirling. I'm the owner of Brisbane Kids, and we are a digital platform in Brisbane, obviously, that has a website and social media platforms, a magazine, and we promote fun things to do, events, activities, services, education in Brisbane for families, and promote Brisbane as a family-friendly destination to encourage more visitors to come to our awesome city. So that's really what I do, and digital marketing, I guess, and writing a lot of content.
Love it. And I have to say, I do love Brisbane, and it is so kid-friendly compared to other cities. So I love what you do. So thank you for doing it and putting the content out there and all of that. So I want to dive right in because you've got lots of different things to share and some gold. And the first thing is, how many profit first conversations do you think you've had?
I think it is over 100, maybe. So anyone who is in business who whinges about their BAS, generally it's about BAS, is where I tell them about profit first. And even in Facebook groups. And it's funny, about 5 years ago, I was pretty much a standalone, other than the odd American who would come in. And now I've noticed in the Facebook groups, I'm a chorus of people saying, why don't you try it? So I'm surprised that people haven't now. So
I think it just also talks to how many people there are in the world and how big Australia is, and that it takes a while for messages to spread. But yeah, I've definitely had a similar amount of conversations about profit first, and I'd love to know, like, your introduction to it. When did you come across it? What were your thoughts? How long did it take you? And what changes has it made? I know, millions of questions. It's okay. Just run with it and I'll ask other questions.
That's okay. Well, I asked you questions up front so I could make sure I had the right answer. And so I'm pretty sure I heard about it on the Tim Ferriss show, though I'm not sure what guest it was, but I love his podcast. And it reminded me a little bit of his 4-hour work week, really simplifying business down. I didn't buy the book. I actually got it on Audible to begin with and listened to the first chapter and bought the book. I think for me, it just seemed too good to be true, but there was very little risk involved. So I'm of the sort of philosophy that if there's little risk involved and the benefits seem great, then I can always reverse what I've done. So I thought
absolutely.
I'd give it a go. So
awesome.
That's what I did.
And so at the time that you came across it, were you experiencing challenges in your own business, or were you just sort of thinking there's got to be a better way of dealing with things?
I think maths is not my strong point, and we'd just come off the back of a pretty useless bookkeeper, and I think I was blaming a lot on him being useless, and he was. And then I moved to a really great bookkeeper who I'm still with today, but I didn't find that fixed my BAS is due, Ngaire, where's the money conversation. And it was always a surprise what was due, and it was stressful. And I just thought there definitely had to be a better way. And we did try other things before profit first. I have a business, but my husband also has a business, a building company. And we've tried things like, going on wages where it's specific, which is really difficult in a building company, very difficult in my seasonal sort of business. We tried, putting away a set amount every week, which can also be really difficult when your money is coming in at different
ebbs and flows.
That's right. So I just thought really there had to be a better way. And when I was listening to it, it was directly related to tax and just the ease of knowing that whatever you put aside, it just meant that the money that was left was my money. And that was really appealing to me. Instead of spending something and being a bit like, oh, should I feel guilty about this?
Yeah. Or is this going to come and bite me in the ass is the other sort of thought that you have as a business owner.
Yes. And do I put money into super now when maybe, you know, in a month's time, I'll be wanting to keep that money, that sort of thing.
That's it. Yeah. That was the biggest thing for me when I was looking at implementing Profit First, is that there was still that, even though I'm a finance person, even though I can understand what's coming and going and that sort of thing, I still like, oh, timing. Can I do this now? Is it really mine? Am I going to end up having a personal tax bill that I'm going to be unaware of? No.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so how long did it take you to implement it? Was it something that you thought would take ages, or like what was your thought process around it and what was your experience?
Sure. So I implemented it before I read the book. So I listened to the Audible chapter. I went online and Googled how to implement Profit First. It was very American back then because as, you know, we talked about before the show that you brought this over in 2018. And prior to that, I think it was just very Americanized. So I knew I had to put in GST. I needed to have super in there. So I went to Fiverr, and because again, maths is not my strong point. I didn't want to be using a calculator every time because I knew that would be a roadblock. So I got them to just create an Excel spreadsheet with all the percentages I wanted, and opened an ING account, and that was it. And it was a half an hour of my time. And by the time I had the book, I was already well underway. So
that's awesome. And so did you see immediate results, or did it take a while?
Yeah, the discipline took a couple of months because you're changing your whole behavior system. And I think it just takes a little while. So in the beginning, I would get to a Friday, and I still do use a Friday, but for my business, I would go, oh, well, you know, say you bought in X amount of dollars for the week, I would enter that in, and all my percentages would be based off there. And I did that for the first 2 years, whereas now I have a set amount that I take, and I do that with every week, and the rest just sits in a holding account, basically, to cover big purchases. But in the beginning, for the first 2 years, doing it, you know, I just made sure that every Friday I would sit there and I would enter that in, and it would come out. It was just probably having to deal with some of the poor decisions made in the past and take care of that, and then just being disciplined. But it didn't take me long, surprisingly, and I've stuck to it 100%. And the only reason I don't do the full amount now is because I have some really stupid direct debits that come out of that business account, and I'm just lazy and don't want to change them. So it's just a nice buffer. And I know it doesn't really matter because they're all tax deductions anyway that are coming out of that account. So it's not like I'm spending that money. Yeah.
But I think that's the thing as well, is that often people will read the book and be like, oh, I must follow this to an absolute T. And there really is, like, the thing that I love about Profit First is once you understand the principles, once you've got the discipline, as you've shared as well, around, you know, ensuring that you're every week or fortnight or month, whatever it is, on a consistent basis, doing these distributions, you can then go, okay, but what's actually going to make this easier for me? And if that does mean that you know that there's a certain amount of money that's going to be coming out of the wrong bank account, but you've got everything else covered, well, that's great. Do you know what I mean? Not ideal if you've got a whole heap of stuff you need to clean up, but once you're at the point where you're like, oh, I understand how this works, I'm covering my tax, I'm covering what I want to pay myself, and that sort of thing, it can be modified, which I find really exciting.
I do too. And, you know, also if you fall off the bandwagon, a bit like eating, it's just about getting straight back on the week after. And that's sort of what especially during COVID, we put all our advertising on hold so that we wouldn't be pressuring small business to pay us money when they had no money. And that was very challenging because suddenly you're like, well, nothing's going to work now, is it? But that was fine. It was just the minute it started working, the discipline to just start straight again. And you'll never get into trouble as long as you follow that sort of, rule of, 10% of the time isn't why you can't pay your BAS. That's really,
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
we pay more too. I was looking at my percentages, and we pay more on purpose than we need to in tax. Yeah, so at the end, we've always got more than we need.
Do you refund yourself?
Oh, well, so now it's about max maxing out super because we're at an age where that's important and we're self-employed, both of us. So, but yeah, it actually just comes to tax time, and it might even be, you know, that holiday that we weren't going to take, now we can. So that's great. Yeah, I know. How good's that? I know.
So nice when it happens.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing with my clients as well. It's like, okay, put additional aside. It's like a savings plan without it being a savings plan. You know, you feel super comfortable that it's more than covered. So you're not, that mental load's gone. But then at the end of the year, not only are you paying out your tax without thinking about it, you're like, oh, I have this little pot. What can I do with it?
Exactly.
Which
Exactly.
is really nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. And I understand that your husband has a business, as you mentioned, and you have the book, Profit First for Tradies. So just a quick shout out to Katie Marshall, who is the Profit First for Tradies author.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that. You shared a little something before, which I thought was quite funny. And that was, you shared the book.
Well, I've been doing it for years, obviously, and a Profit First, and he'd heard me doing it, and I obviously could meet my commitments all the time, but when you're in the building industry, things come in, you know, it is really up and down. You know, you've got a big, you know, order that you've got to put on materials, and it can be a while before you might get the money back on that. So Absolutely. It is trickier from their perspective, but not impossible to set up. And having a chat to my accountant and him reframing it, we've just been able to really achieve the same thing. And I think that just, you know, when you know the money that's in your account is your own money, and he's a little bit different than me, so he doesn't have a profit account like I do. He skipped that section because that, I think for him, then it became a little too, you know, specific for him, and that's fine. But the rest of it just means that we've literally never have a problem when it comes to knowing what is due, and having had put that aside. And I think in the building industry, if you're in any of the Facebook groups, you can see that is a real problem in the industry. Yeah, that people just don't they just earn what they earn, and they just spend what they earn without, you know, so...
For sure. And it's also the upfront costs, which can be crazy. And this is the biggest misunderstanding as well. And the building industry is a great industry to use as a case study due to the fact that there is a chunk of money that comes in that we often as business owners go, oh, okay, cool, I can do things with that, when really out of 80% of that's already going to materials and all of that sort of thing. And you're left with 20%. And you're like, how does the business actually run on this?
Yes.
So it's great at highlighting that.
Yes, and it just means that you know that the money that you're taking is yours, and so the rest of it can sort itself out in the wash. And I think that's what works for his industry, and that means that in a sense, what's going into, because you are over, you know, really you're probably overpaying GST, you're probably overpaying tax to a degree. That all becomes profit in a way.
Absolutely.
Whereas for me, I really benefited from opening an ING account and getting rid of that money every single week. Yeah.
And that shows the different money personality types as well. I'm the same. I need it out of the account because then that permission to, I don't know, use it goes. And, you know, if there's more bank accounts with more purposes for me, then that works really well. Whereas my partner is the complete opposite, probably very similar to your husband, where it can all kind of sit as long as he knows what's his.
Yes, correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And we were talking about how it's not so much about the framework, where a lot of people get really caught up on how difficult it is to set up, or that it is, you know, a something that needs to be done. We're actually working more with the mindset and the money blueprint of what we're wanting to achieve. And yes, it does sound woo-woo. So I'll reframe that for those that that don't go along that line with me. And it's basically, we have a behavior. when it comes to our money. Like it or not, it's, you know, we show up to our bank account in different ways. And like when we don't have a framework in place, and speaking with you, it definitely seems like it's more a matter of knowing what's yours that has reduced that stress for you and given you that liberation around it and knowing that the tax can be paid. Whereas for someone else, it could actually be, well, that profit account needs to get to X dollars so that I can go and do this thing personally. And it is about understanding that and then setting the framework up to work for it. So yeah, I absolutely love that you've shared those different aspects, and you know, your husband's business and your own business being two very different industries. What was the biggest game changer for you, do you think, with implementing Profit First?
I think it's just your awareness of your numbers. When you're not a numbers person, and I'm really not, I have to try really hard to be a numbers person. I found this made it easier. So it made me aware of my subscriptions, where when you're in digital marketing can just, you know, the next shiny thing, and before you know it, you've got all these things coming out. And also, I guess it's been great when something like, at the moment, we're going to build a new website next year, and knowing that that money is pretty much put aside and ready to go for that. I know. And as opposed to scrambling for that money. And I think it is an energy thing. And anyone who goes, it's a bit woo-woo, I'd urge them. Dan Kennedy just brought out a book. I don't know the name off the top of my head. It's in another room. But, you know, he's one of the greatest marketers of all time. He's very straightforward. But there is a very hard chapter in his book about the energy of money. And, you know, Warren Buffett, whoever it is, there is an energy to money, whether you like it or not, woo-woo or whatever. And even if you take that out of this, there's no risk to implementing this. There's no system that you're going to set up that's so complicated that you're going to have to dismantle it over many hours. So it's more, why not give it a go? If it doesn't work in a month's time, then, you know, there's no harm done. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll just keep getting the same result at the same time. So why do that?
Absolutely. No, I love that. And it's so, so true. One of the things that you mentioned before we jumped on live was that, you know, having different conversations with people. And one of, you know, the things that I hear often as well is, well, it's the same money. So like, how does it work? And how did you phrase it? I think you used the words.
Oh gosh, what did I use?
It was like magic.
You wanted me to say that, didn't you? And I didn't. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But it is like magic. It really is. And it's still, I look back on it today, and when I'm telling people, I'm going, I know it's so simple. You're not gonna magically earn more money overnight, but at the same time, you will naturally, you know. And sorry, my bulldogs in the background being a bit loud there. You will naturally earn more money because you won't be so worried. And I think that speaks to the energy of money in a way. I wouldn't have phrased it like that to my husband, because he'd be a bit like,
what are you talking about?
That's right. But when it is about being able to pay your bass on time, why wouldn't you just give it a go? And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess the difference is, compared to when you first came across Profit First, there's so much more now that is Australianized, that is, you know, out there. There's beginner's guides to Profit First, and there's all sorts of things that incorporate for GST and super and all of the things that are not the same in the US. And so, like, there's plenty out there to help with it. Just do it.
Yeah, you can literally Google Profit First for Australia. You can go into any group, you know, in Australia that's a business group, and generally people have talked about it, and I think that's great. And I feel like it's getting a bit like, you know, people who go, I've never watched Harry Potter or Game of Thrones. The people that are resisting, you know, might always resist, and I don't know if there's anything we can do about that. But when everyone is doing something, it just seems like, why wouldn't you give it a go when there's no risk? Like, why wouldn't you watch Harry Potter? You know, why?
Absolutely.
Same thing.
There's probably more of an investment watching Harry Potter in time than there is in setting up Profit First.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Well, thank you so, so much for sharing, you know, a snippet of your journey. And thank you for sharing the Profit First word, because it sounds like you've been doing it for many, many years. What would be one tip that you would leave for people considering this or listening to our chat today?
I think in the beginning, deciding what you're going to spend your profit on, and it really is just give it a go for a month. And even if you make that profit teeny tiny, So it's an insignificant amount that doesn't worry you so much, and then spend it on something that you really want to spend it on, because you'll know what that figure is when you set it up. And then that will give you the motivation, I think, to keep going, because it does feel nice to go, that's not my drawings. That's actually the profit that I can spend on anything I want to spend on. That's not even my daily going grocery shopping money. You know, that's whatever I want. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I love that. So for anyone listening, that's your biggest tip. Definitely know what you're going to be spending your profit on, because when you put profit first, it really does make a difference. And thank you so much for joining me today. And if anyone wants to know a bit more about what it is that you do and where you hang out, how can they find you?
Okay, well, I'm under Twitter at Ngaire Stirling and LinkedIn. And I'm at brisbanekids.com.au. If you have kids in Brisbane or you're travelling here, you should travel here and find out things to do in our wonderful city.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And we'll be dropping in the comments on our lives all of the contact details. And if you have any questions at all, we will be monitoring the chat and we'll come back and answer them. So thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I will see you all next month.
Thanks. See you later. Bye.